Some stories don't have an ending. They don't really conclude, they just stop. They leave behind a silence filled with unanswered questions and a void where a life used to be. For over 40 years, one of those stories has haunted the quiet country lanes of Devon, England. It's a story that starts with a girl on her bicycle and ends with a mystery that points to one of the most evil men in British history. It's the story of a crime that remains officially unsolved, yet is defined by a single, chilling clue: a mysterious maroon car. This is the story of Genette Tate and the decades-long hunt for the monster who made her disappear. The afternoon of Saturday, August 19, 1978, was a perfect English summer day. In the tiny village of Aylesbeare, the air was warm, the hedgerows were buzzing with life, and the world felt safe. On a narrow lane, fringed by fields and ancient trees, 13-year-old Genette Tate was doing her paper round. She was a familiar, cheerful sight, just a normal part of the village's peaceful rhythm. But in a matter of minutes, that rhythm was shattered. All that was left of Genette on that quiet country lane was her bicycle, lying on its side. Its back wheel was still spinning, slowly and almost silently, in the afternoon sun. Scattered around it like fallen leaves were the newspapers she was supposed to deliver. Genette Tate had vanished. The case would become one of Britain's longest and most painful missing person inquiries. A search for a girl that turned into a hunt for a monster, all starting with one single tantalizing image: the ghost of a maroon car, seen in the final moments before childhood was stolen. To understand the silence Genette left behind, you have to understand the life she lived. Born on May 5th, 1965, Genette Louise Tate was the only child of John and Sheila Tate. After her parents separated, she moved with her father to Devon, settling in a small cottage in Aylesbeare, with her dad, his partner Violet, and Violet's daughter Tanya. Life was, by all accounts, completely normal. Her family called her Ginny. She was a bright girl with a surprising talent for maths. She loved animals and had a passion for writing poetry, filling her notebooks with the thoughts of a creative mind. Aylesbeare itself was the kind of place where nothing bad was ever supposed to happen. It was a tiny village of just 500 people, a place where everyone knew each other. But it was also just a few miles from the new M5 motorway, a concrete artery that could carry someone away to anywhere in the country. That Saturday in August should have been unremarkable. Genette was covering the local paper round for a boy who was away. At around 2:30 p.m., she left her cottage to start her deliveries. It's thought she would have needed a bag to carry the 70 large broadsheet newspapers on her route, but no bag was ever found. She started pedaling through the familiar lanes, and sometime after 3 p.m., she ran into two of her friends, Margaret and Tracy, on a narrow road called Withen Lane. They chatted for about 10 minutes, a perfectly normal, fleeting moment of teenage friendship. Then, Genette said her goodbyes and pedaled away up the lane. It was the last time she was ever seen by anyone who knew her. About 7 minutes later, her friends started walking up the same lane. Just a short distance ahead, they saw something that didn't make sense. It was Genette's bicycle, lying in the middle of the road. The back wheel was still turning. Her undelivered papers were strewn across the tarmac. There was no sign of a crash, no blood, and no damage to the bike. Her purse, with the money she'd collected, was still in the basket. The girls called her name, but the quiet countryside just swallowed their shouts. There was no response. Genette was simply gone. Panic began to set in. When Genette's father, John, returned home to find she hadn't come back, the idyllic afternoon curdled into frantic fear. The police were called, and as dusk settled over the Devon fields, one of the largest missing person searches in British history was launched. Local police, RAF helicopters, dog units, and hundreds of Royal Marines descended on Aylesbeare. Up to 8,000 local volunteers turned out on a single day to search nearby Woodbury Common. But day after day, the result was the same. Nothing. Not a shoe, not a piece of clothing, not a single trace of Genette Tate. It was as if she had, as one of her friends later said, vanished into thin air. As the physical search for Genette ramped up, detectives began piecing together the timeline of her disappearance. In the village hall, now a makeshift police control center, they started taking statements. And very quickly, a common thread emerged. A single recurring image that would come to define the entire investigation. Multiple, independent witnesses reported seeing a maroon-colored car on or near Within Lane right around the time Genette vanished. The most credible sighting came from a mother and daughter on holiday, who saw Genette chatting with her friends. As they walked on, they saw a maroon car heading towards the girls, passing the exact spot where Genette's bike was later found. They described the driver as a young man with dark hair. Another witness, a driving instructor, reported seeing a maroon car driving at high speed out of the village, kicking up dust as it went. From these statements, and even the use of hypnosis on one of Genette's friends, a more detailed picture emerged. The car was thought to be a Triumph or a similar model. Police created a photo fit of the driver, a very handsome man in his early 20s, with a pale complexion and short dark hair. He was supposedly playing loud music on his car radio. This maroon car became the absolute focus of the investigation. It was the only tangible clue they had. The theory was simple and terrifying. A stranger had driven down that quiet lane, seen a young girl on her own, and in a few moments had bundled her into his car and sped away. With the M5 motorway just a few miles away, the abductor could have been far from Devon within an hour. Yet, the clue was as frustrating as it was promising. Why? Because Genette's two friends, who were on the lane with her just moments before she disappeared, didn't recall seeing any such car. How could a distinctive vehicle with loud music playing have passed by completely unnoticed by the people closest to the scene? Despite massive public appeals, neither the car nor the man in the photo fit were ever traced. The man in the maroon car remained a ghost. With their main lead stalled, police looked at other theories. Could she have run away? Unlikely. She left her purse behind and had a stable home life. An accident? A hit and run? Possible. But the lack of blood or damage to the bike made it a long shot. Her father, John Tate, was interviewed, as is standard procedure, but he had a cast-iron alibi and was quickly cleared. The police files grew to over 20,000 index cards, a huge amount of data for the pre-computer era. But none of it led to Genette. The search was scaled back, the media moved on, and the investigation went cold. For nearly 2 decades, the image of the maroon car and its handsome driver was the only clue to a monstrous act. The real answer, it would turn out, lay not in Devon, but on the lonely roads of Scotland and northern England, in the trail of an unassuming delivery driver who was slowly revealing himself to be a monster. As the years passed, the memory of Genette Tate lingered, a haunting cold case with no answers. But elsewhere in the UK, a different story of unimaginable horror was unfolding, carried out by a man who moved through the country like a phantom. His name was Robert Black. Born in Scotland in 1947, Black had a troubled early life. As an adult, he worked as a long-distance delivery driver, traveling the length and breadth of the UK delivering posters. He was a ghost on the motorways, a man who knew the country's back roads and quiet lanes like the back of his hand. To the world, he was a nobody. In the shadows, he was a predator. In July 1982, 11-year-old Susan Maxwell vanished in the Scottish borders. Her body was found 11 days later, hundreds of miles away. In July 1983, 5-year-old Caroline Hogg was abducted from a park in Edinburgh. Her body was found 10 days later, over 300 miles away. Then, in March 1986, 10-year-old Sarah Harper disappeared in West Yorkshire. Her body was found 3 weeks later in the River Trent. The crimes were terrifyingly similar. All young girls, abducted in broad daylight. All were sexually assaulted, murdered, and dumped hundreds of miles from where they were taken. Their bodies left near the major roadways that were Robert Black's hunting ground. For years, he was an invisible killer. His reign of terror finally ended in July 1990. In the Scottish village of Stow, a quick-thinking neighbor saw Black abducting a 6-year-old girl, got his registration number, and called the police. They intercepted his van and found the girl in the back, terrified but alive. Robert Black was arrested. When investigators dug into his past and his work records, They connected him to the murders of Susan, Caroline, and Sarah. In 1994, he was convicted and sentenced to multiple life terms, exposed as one of Britain's most prolific child killers. After his conviction, cold case detectives in Devon took a hard look at him. The similarities to the Genette Tate case were impossible to ignore. A young girl, alone, vanishing from a rural area. It was Black's signature. Detectives meticulously checked his history, trying to place him in Devon on August 19, 1978. They found that through his work as a delivery driver, Black had made numerous runs to the Exeter area. His work logs and fuel card usage showed that he was frequently in the southwest around that time. Then, a new witness came forward, claiming to have seen a man who looked like Black leaning on his van at Exeter Airport, just a few miles from Aylesbeare, on the very day Genette vanished. The witness said the man seemed to be watching children before driving off in the direction of the village. The connection grew stronger in 2011 when Black was convicted of a fourth murder, 9-year-old Jennifer Carty in Northern Ireland in 1981. The circumstances were chillingly familiar. Jennifer was abducted while riding her bicycle. Her bike was later found hidden by branches. It seemed to show a horrifying progression. With Genette, the bike was left in the open, drawing immediate attention. With Jennifer, 3 years later, the bike was hidden, as if the killer had learned from a mistake. The evidence against Black was circumstantial, but it was mounting. There was his presence in the region, the witness sighting, and most damningly, his unique and horrifying pattern of crimes. A pattern that fit the disappearance of Genette Tate like a key in a lock. The question was, could they ever prove it? And what about the maroon car? The description of the driver, young and handsome, didn't really match the rough appearance of Robert Black. It was a contradiction that would complicate the final hunt. Despite the powerful circumstantial case, charging Robert Black was a long and difficult road. He was interviewed about Genette, but always denied any involvement. The problem was the lack of direct evidence from 1978. There was no DNA, no confession, and crucially, no body. In 2008, the Crown Prosecution Service, or CPS, ruled there was insufficient evidence to go to trial. For Genette's family, it was a devastating blow. But Black's conviction for Jennifer Carty's murder in 2011 changed everything. That trial had allowed prosecutors to use his previous convictions as bad character evidence to show the jury his pattern of behavior. When an appeal against this was rejected, it gave Devon and Cornwall police a new opening. In 2014, they formally reopened the case. A dedicated team of detectives worked for the next 2 years, building a 500-page dossier against their only suspect. They reportedly found new witnesses and learned that Black had allegedly admitted to a prison guard that he had visited Aylesbeare back in 1978. By early 2016, the investigation was reaching its climax. The lead detective said they were just weeks away from submitting their final file to the CPS for a charging decision. They were confident that this time they could finally get justice for Genette. And then on January 12, 2016, it was all snatched away. Robert Black, age 68, collapsed and died from a heart attack in prison. His death was a complete shock. It brought the criminal investigation to an immediate, permanent halt. The case against Robert Black was officially closed, not with a verdict, but with an ellipsis. For Genette's father, John Tate, the news was the final, cruel twist. For 40 years, he had tirelessly campaigned to keep his daughter's memory alive. His health declined severely in his later years, and he even wrote to Black in prison, begging for a confession. John's own belief wavered. At times, he was convinced Black did it, but in one of his last interviews, he admitted, "I am not even 100% sure Black did it. I need proof." More than a conviction, he just wanted to find his daughter. His final wish was to give Ginny a proper burial and to one day be buried alongside her. It was a wish that was never granted. John Tate died in 2020 at the age of 77, going to his grave without ever knowing for sure what happened to his little girl. The disappearance of Genette Tate remains, officially, an unsolved case. Devon and Cornwall police are confident Robert Black was responsible. But without a confession or a body, there's no definitive proof. What do you believe happened on that lane in 1978? Was Robert Black the killer, or does the mystery of the maroon car point to someone else entirely? A phantom who was never caught? Share your respectful theories in the comments below. Today, the case of Genette Tate is still one of Britain's longest-running missing person inquiries. In a police evidence room, her bicycle is kept in a cage, a relic of a stolen childhood. The files represent decades of hope and frustration. The story leaves us with two conflicting images of evil. One is the face of a known monster, a serial killer whose methods and movements align so perfectly with the crime. The other is the ghost of a handsome stranger in a maroon car, a clue that was either a bizarre red herring or the key to a different, unknown suspect. Robert Black took his secrets to the grave, denying Genette's family their day in court, and denying her father the peace he so desperately craved. The most likely truth is that on that August afternoon, the paths of a 13-year-old girl on her paper round and a serial killer on the hunt tragically crossed on a quiet Devon lane. Genette Tate was a girl full of life, with the simple dreams of a childhood that was just beginning. Her vanishing left a void in her family and community that has never been filled, a wound that 4 decades of searching could never heal. Her story is a haunting reminder of the fragility of innocence and the enduring silence of a mystery that may now forever remain unsolved.